NASCAR's Grand National Championship Series begins in January at Riverside, California. The opener draws the top names in racing. Indy winners like A.J. Foyt and Parnelli Jones, road racer Dan Gurney, and the full NASCAR fraternity. But when the dust settles after the 1969 race, the man in victory lane is Richard Petty, giving Ford a 7th consecutive Riverside victory. The series then returns to the ovals for a 12-month, 54-race seesaw battle on everything from half-mile dirt tracks to 2.5-mile superspeedways. On the big tracks, the Fords and Mercurys dominate, taking 13 of 15 superspeedway clashes. At Daytona in February, Charlie Glotzback leads going into the final lap. He is followed by LeeRoy Yarbrough in the white number 98 Ford. 100,000 people come to their feet as the cars enter the last turn. LeeRoy Yarbrough wins the Daytona 500 by inches and begins a string of major victories unparalleled in the history of the sport. Cale Yarborough's Mercury Cyclone is first at Atlanta. Then it's LeeRoy again with back-to-back victories at Darlington and at Charlotte. Cale edges him on the last lap at Michigan International Speedway. But LeeRoy returns to make it 2 in a row at Daytona. And Donnie Allison on October 12th at Charlotte clinches the 7th consecutive Manufacturers' Championship for Ford. As the season draws to a close, LeeRoy has captured an unprecedented 6 superspeedway victories. He will go on to be named Ford's Motorsports Man of the Year, an honor shared in past seasons by drivers such as A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, and Cale Yarbrough. But while LeeRoy's number 98 Ford was the car most often in victory lane on the big tracks, the Drivers' Championship was being contested between Richard Petty and defending Grand National Champion David Pearson. For these two men, the season is still very much alive.
As far as pressure on me, these last few races, I feel like there's more pressure on me than normally. And if I was to fall out real early, I could lose the championship, but I could also sew the championship up here at this race.
On October 26th in Rockingham, North Carolina, David Pearson and Richard Petty will settle their long conflict of 1969.
Well, the championship is pretty important, really. I've won it 2 years, in 64 and 67, and there was 4 or 5 of us, I think, that's won the championship twice, and my father's the only one so far that won it 3 times. And David Pearson and myself is the only ones that have a chance right now of being the second one to run it 3 times.
Richard Petty is one of the toughest drivers for running on the tracks today. He's good on the short tracks, dirt tracks, super speedways. He's one of the tops.
Well, I would say that David Pearson is probably one of the best Grand National drivers we have. He's won enough races on all kinds of tracks.
The Speedway is a question mark. It has been remodeled into the fastest 1-mile circuit in the world, but during practice, several drivers have crashed, most of them in turn 2. The effect on tires of 500 blistering miles remains an unknown factor, but the tire companies are mounting 20 right-side tires and 10 left-side tires for the faster cars, and they are offering no guarantees.
They're on the edge all the time, really. They're beyond my edge, maybe beyond your edge, and they know where this edge is, and they will try it just to see, and once in a while it gets to them and they fail. They go beyond their own edge.
Yarbrough is among those who crashed during qualifying. Yet even in his backup car, he sets a world's record for the mile oval. He remains the man to beat.
I've never been a loser in automobile racing since I first started. The main objective that I had, regardless of what kind of racing I was doing, was to win. And wanting to beat the other guy is just the biggest thing imaginable in your mind.
Starting in 7th position in a 1969 Ford from Randleman, North Carolina, car number 43, Richard Petty. Starting in the 2nd row, in 4th position, car number 17, a young man who is the reigning Grand National Champion, driving a 69 Ford from Spartanburg, South Carolina, David Pearson. All race car drivers to and in their cars immediately please. All race car drivers to and in their cars immediately please.
Well, you get tensed a little bit when they say, gentlemen, crank your engine. The biggest thing is just waiting around, getting ready to start. Of course, while I'm racing, I chew gum to keep my mouth moist.
Driver, twist your engine. of the 40 of the greatest race cars in the world, driven by 40 of the world's great drivers. This is the 12 o'clock noon start of the 5th annual edition of the American 500 here at this beautiful North Carolina Motor Speedway track. Here he comes in the deep part of the fourth turn now. Johnny Bruno Jr. standing by on the starter's stand. He looks to feel over Guthrie. And there goes the green flag, and it's the start of the American 500. And the race uncharted Charlie Gottlieb from the pole position. Leads the back as he works his way through the second turn. Now the next stretch now. Charlie towards it all.
Petty and Pearson are running 7th and 9th, watching each other and both watching the rough pavement on turn 2. With the leaders turning laps of 137 miles an hour, how long will their tires take the punishment? The answer comes on lap 20.
On the Daytona 500 charger number 22, Mike Savelli by one of the cars as it came down off the back. And this doesn't look good. Dale Yarbrough pitting, as is LeeRoy Yarbrough, Richard Petty, David Pearson, Bobby Ozzie. And they must be having some tremendous tire wear out there for these top drivers to come in for a change this early. David Pearson, Richard Petty down the pit road. Tremendous tire wear on this track in the early part of this race.
Dale Yarbrough is leading now, but LeeRoy is pressing. Then LeeRoy makes his move. He is the leader on lap 62.
As they battle the automobiles into the third turn, Yarbrough hit that wall there on turn. Yarbrough coming in for pit stop on Toledo Talladega number 98.
Damaged the right side of the car quite extensively, and immediately the Junior Johnson crew just jumped right in there and straightened the sheet metal out and got some new tires back on it and got me able to run again, and I don't think I lost but maybe one lap.
100 miles into the race, the Dodges of Bobby Isaac and Buddy Baker are running 1-2, but Richard and David have begun their charge. Now there is no holding back, no watching each other. Now they are flat out. By lap 110, they are running 1-2 for the championship. Petty has left a wheel and tire embedded in the wall of turn 2. As the Petty crew works frantically to straighten the twisted sheet metal, David Pearson moves into the lead. But the impact was too great. The repairs will not hold. Pearson leads now. He no longer must beat Petty. Now he must beat the track.
Came down trying to hold it from going broadside. They are trying to get Donnie out now.
Allison has the wind knocked out of him, but is unhurt. In an hour, he will return to the pits as a spectator. On lap 168, Cale Yarbrough is leading. It becomes a matter of survival now. James Hilton, Bobby Isaac, Bobby Johns and Buddy Young, Charlie Glatzbach. Now David Pearson and LeeRoy Yarbrough, the leading money winners of the '69 season, have at each other. With Petty out, Pearson doesn't need to win this race to remain champion. But as long as the race is there to be won, he will try to win it.
David wanted to win the race, and I wanted to win the race. And the way that we go about doing this, I guess, is just run one another hard enough to break. It was pretty evident we weren't going to slow down regardless of what we got on our pit boards and all.
Now LeeRoy Yarbrough comes to the inside to David Pearson. He tried to get around him. They've got some traffic in the first turn. He goes back Indian file. LeeRoy Yarbrough and David Pearson, side by side, looking for the lead, and LeeRoy Yarbrough is going to have it, it looks like.
But Pearson's engine has developed a misfire. It is over. Yarbrough takes the checkered flag. Pearson is second on 7 cylinders. 17 of 40 cars finish the race.
Your winner, ladies and gentlemen, LeeRoy Yarbrough, for a sensational 7 wins this year on the Super Speedway track. The first time that it has ever happened in the history.
To the photographers in Victory Lane and to the surrounding fans, the center of attention is LeeRoy Yarbrough, whose 7 major victories nearly double the previous record.
When you're out there alone at 175 or 200 miles an hour, it just goes without words. If you think enough of it to do it, then you should think enough of it to be the best.
But in the press tower, the reporters who cover United States auto racing also await the arrival of NASCAR's Grand National Champion.
Well, when I first started, I didn't think I would ever become a champion. Of course, I always wanted to. This time winning the championship, it means quite a bit to me because when I first started, I knew it was a hard road to travel. And in fact, my first race, I think I won about $13 in it. And so I feel like if I won the championship against the guys I'm running against now, I've done a good job.
A season closes. But they will be back next year. Those who watch, those who drive. There is a unique bond among people who are drawn to the staccato violence of an open exhaust. It is an understanding that the spectacle, framed by green and checkered flags, is more than a contest of men and machines. To drive very fast and to win challenges a man to seek his own limitations, his own edge, as well as those of his opponents. In reaching for those limitations, it has been said that if you have the time, the talent, and the inclination, every Sunday you can live for 100 years.